All right,
Can you
y'all.
hear me, New York?
We
Yeah,
live on the
live
scene.
now.
Welcome to New York City Live Podcast, the late night edition.
Hey, New York, would it let me flip the camera around?
Yeah, hit the little camera button right below. It's a little button.
Okay,
That's
let me
straight to the camera, and it'll let you flip it around. I'll let you turn it off. You got to hit the other button, let you flip it around.
Well, I don't see the flip around button, so I'm just gonna
It's
turn
not
the
little
camera
arrows
around.
pointing like this, like little arrows. Well, there you go. Just turn the whole thing around.
Yeah, I'm just gonna turn the whole thing around so y'all can see. Hey guys, look, the big chief came in the house today, and he said this is a race car, so we're taking the sway bar off. AJ, he took the sway bar off the car. He said we don't need it. What say you, AJ?
It's one of the first things I put on the shelf.
I see people tuning in. Shout out to everybody tuning in. This is a late night sneak up edition of the Live Podcast. And everybody's like, what? What? Yes. Demonology hit me up and said, New York, I want you to put it on your show. So here it is. It's on my show. Okay. Oh, appreciate Simone and Joker tapping in. Appreciate y'all tapping on in. I see everybody coming in. Okay, I see about, y'all smash the like button. I see about 30, 40. Oh, it's steady going up. Wow, it's going up fast. Okay, definitely everybody's up in here. They're starting to come up in here. Yeah, 2 live tonight. This is a surprise live. Surprise, surprise. What up, D Brooks? What up? Surprise live, y'all. This is a surprise live right here. I got the legendary AJ up in the building and Demonology, which he hit the wrong button and kicked himself out. But while I'm waiting for Demonology to come back, AJ, like I said before I even hit the live button, man, you're somebody that I definitely watch, especially every time Demonology has you on. I've learned a lot by you just talking about things. And it put me in perspective. I said, okay, if I go ahead and do this and go ahead and get a Hellcat, I know what I need to do. I need to hit you up and say, hey, I know I need this. I know to change the carbon fiber drive shaft. Shout out to Gears Unlimited that's here in KC because they told me the same thing. They want to sponsor for my channel. They said, Neil, we'll get you hooked up with that. I know I need a few odds and ends to get it up to par to where I wanted to get to, so we'll run. Not
Carbon fiber drive shaft.
but
So you might ask me about that. So AJ, can you give him your thoughts on the carbon fiber?
Well, I mean, carbon fiber is definitely lighter. I'm still, you know me, if it's got an 8-speed, I still love that 2-piece shaft. So, ironically enough, I've been testing.
New York, here's my carbon fiber drive shaft.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what happened, New York?
The one that I wouldn't dyno the car with?
Yeah. Yes, yeah, the one that AJ said, no, we're not dynoing the car with that carbon fiber drive shaft because it could disintegrate. But I had to get a drive shaft in, and the guys at Gearheads, along with my good friend Chris Shiver, they said, if you want to run a drive shaft within 48 hours, you got to, how can I say, if you want to go fast like me, you got to go with PST. These guys sent me a drive shaft within 48 hours, New York. I was amazed that the drive shaft got here that quick. So,
dang, 2 days shipping. Quick, they must already had it built, ready to go.
No,
yes,
no, here it is right here. Right here.
Yes, it's a surprise.
Turbo 400 piece on the front. And here's the Mopar on the end. And they did an aluminum, AJ. A big boy.
I like the aluminum a little bit better.
So in other words, I should go with the aluminum instead of going with the carbon fiber then.
Well, it depends because what you have to watch with the 8-speed, what the length is going to be over how fast it's going to spin. So a lot of times you have to go to the carbon fiber shaft because you need the smaller diameter, and the carbon fiber is not going to go critical speed like the aluminum will. So, where you might need a 4 or 4.5 inch aluminum, you would only need like a 3.5 inch carbon fiber. So that's the why a lot of people recommend the carbon fiber. It's because of where the critical speed is in relationship to the length. So.
Okay. Yes, Zay, this is exclusive right here for those that get to catch it.
New York, this is one thing that you got to get. See this diff brace right here. This is from Performance Development. So you got to get this brace, and then the new front piece Luis loves this front piece, AJ, because he said it just holds everything in place and reinforces it. And this is the new heavy duty differential that you was talking about, AJ, with the extra material on it, correct?
That is the factory one with the extra material. And then for those who are waiting for it, the billet differential is actually shipped today. So I'm going to have the billet housings probably first of the week.
Okay, so you have one that's actually stronger than the factory one that is made out of all billet, correct?
100% billet aluminum case.
And where can they find you to get that particular differential?
It's gonna go on Hemi Fast page. It's gonna go on my Facebook, my Instagram. We'll be putting it up as soon as I get it into the car.
So that means you can go to hemifast.com and get that fast differential. Now, what all gears will that differential be able to come with, AJ?
So I'm doing 262, 309, 370, 390. Basically all the gear ratios that are available for the Hellcat 230 millimeter ring gears. So.
Okay. So New York, do your guys have any Mopar questions or tuning questions? You have a master tuner in the house. Here's the drive shaft loop right there.
Yes,
So have at it.
I say Simona Joke TV, I need some money. I want my SCAT and SS to give out like that. Hey, you want to give out like that, then yeah, they got to get the money up. These are the folks to talk to right here. AJ is not going to steer you wrong on that.
No, listen, and you know, I want our clients to spend money right the first time. You know, there's nothing worse than going to a shop or going to somebody who you shop and for the best price, and then when you get the car back, it's not quite what you had hoped for, and then you end up spending a whole bunch more money straightening it out in the end. So, we're really big on the consultation, making sure that we know what the customer wants so that we can get them what they want the first time. So,
right. I know it's not a Mopar, but for my Deuce and a Quarter, Gears Unlimited here, they built me a carbon fiber drive shaft because of what I'm running. The LT4, it's a lot of horsepower. It's like it's gonna be cut down to 1,200 horsepower for the streets, but it's a lot of horsepower. It's an 8-speed transmission. But the thing about it is, I'm running 411 gears and I'm pulling 26-inch wheels. I'm not having it for race, but I'm having it just to go to car shows and kind of just drive around and stuff like that. And that's just what they keep me up with. Period. It was like, yeah, this is going to work better for your setup and what you're doing. He said because I'm not really out there to race like that.
and again, that's another thing that's important too. Knowing what the limitations of the combo are. If you want something that's dual purpose, street and strip, you're really going to configure that differently than if you're doing something that's for full race only. There are just so many things to consider. What are the temperatures when you're driving? Can your cooling system shed the heat? Can your transmission cooler shed the heat? You're going to handle that stuff different. When you go into the racetrack all the time, you're looking for the lightest, most efficient stuff. But when you're on the road, you have to be ready for, depending on where you are and demographic, you just don't know if you're going to be driving around in 90 or 100 degree ambient temps. You don't want to leave yourself short where your cooling system or your transmission cooler or your oil cooler or the radiator just can't shed that heat off. It's going to be way different from a car that you're pushing to the starting line compared to a car that's got a hot lap, go laps, drive from home to the track, drive from home to the grocery store. So, again, it's about getting someone with the experience to steer you where you want to go with your package, because every package is different, and there really is no cookie cutter deal when you're coming to personalize these cars for clients. So.
Right. And I know for mine now, I got a cool. Everything's different. The only thing on the radiator is the cooling for the engine. That's it. I have a tranny power steering combo coolant with all his own temperature gauge and fan hooked up to it. All coolers the same way. on that setup. I know I'm telling everybody what I got, but that's kind of how it's set up right now.
Sounds like a monster.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little monster. I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to race with it. Just gonna drive around the street with it. Now, the other cars that I'm fixing up, I know one of them is gonna be street strip, more strip than street. But I want to be able to drive it to a track and race with it.
Yeah, it's funny.
So I
Back
know.
when I was in high school, you know, I had a friend of mine, and his aspiration was always, you know, I want to make a car that runs 9 flat on the street. And I mean, I graduated high school in '93. So look where we are now. You know, a car that runs 9 flat on the street is very attainable now. You know, compared to back then. It's amazing how far the technology's come.
Yeah, like I thought I'd never see a day that I would see Honda Accords, come from the factory with 400 horsepower.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Hearing about street cars, that you're souping up with 400 or 500 horsepower. Now
Yeah.
that's just the norm, and now everybody's pushing for at least 1,000 or better. At least 700 or better now for the streets as far as for race cars.
When I was in high school, a 12-second car was fast, and if you had a 10-second car, like you were really fast. Now 10 seconds, everybody's like,
Right.
Well, hey, Jay,
Right.
well, hey guys, what are y'all thoughts on the electric cars? Since the electric cars seem to be coming on with a vengeance right now. I bought my wife a Tesla. We absolutely love it. But what do you think? Just to give an example, they just sent us an update with the Tesla. You can pay $2,000 and go a half a second faster. So from 4.8 seconds to 0 to 60, it will now do 4.3 seconds, 0 to 60. That's for $2,000, man, that's a good investment.
Here's my rub with the electric cars. I think the technology is amazing. I think what they've done with the technology is amazing. But I think what people don't understand is just how bad the batteries are. Like the batteries, the materials that are mined to make the batteries and everything else, it's the batteries are bad news. And that's the big problem with electric cars. So when an electric car reaches its life, what do you do with the battery? How do you dispose of that battery? The materials inside. I mean, they're taking these batteries and they have to store them like in mountains because.
So you can't recycle the material inside the batteries, AJ?
What's that?
So they can't recycle the material inside of the batteries?
Not efficiently yet, but and again, the electric cars, again, they're great, but to me, you're plugging the car in the wall, you still have, depending on what state you're in, you'll still have a coal-fired plant that's providing the electricity to charge the battery.
Yeah.
So it's really like out of sight, out of mind. It's just like, dumping in the ocean. Like people take the garbage and they dump it in the ocean. It's out of sight, out of mind, but what's its impact on the environment? What's its impact on, the ecology of the oceans and when it washes back up on the land, so, sometimes I feel a lot of it is out of sight, out of mind, and it really needs a deeper look, at.
Travis, what's your thought on electric cars?
I like them.
By 2035, that's all they want California to be. And I've known that for years. They've been pushing to try to make that period for California now. So now by 2035, and that's going to come fast.
Well, that's going to be all the new cars in California have to be. So
yeah, and then after that, they're going to push out all the gasoline cars. And the way they're going to do it is, watch, they're going to try to stop selling gas. Our gas is going to be ridiculous, like it's already ridiculous now. But it's going to be something crazy. They're going to put a higher tax on it to force everybody to either get rid of their cars or move out.
Wow. Hey, AJ, give me a thought on the Turbo 400. How do you think it's going to behave different than the ZF transmission that originally came in the Dodge Demon and that's in the Hellcats?
Oh, I mean, it's going to be completely different. It's more of a racing transmission, but I think you're going to like it. I think you're going to find that it does what you tell it to do when you tell it to do it, without, you know, the interventions that, you know, we hate during when we're trying to win that race. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think it's gonna punch as hard off the line, or will it be a steady, gradual push?
It depends. I mean, again, you know, we don't know what they sent us for converter yet. You know, we don't have any time on this converter, but once we get it, um, once we dial it in, I think it's going to leave harder and more consistent than the 8-speed does. But that's going to be a learning curve. We're going to have to get some data, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I was wondering, AJ, because the first gear is so long, and with the ZF transmission, you got so many gears, first, second, third. You know, it's just boom, 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 boom. And I'm just wondering how it's going to feel different. I wonder if it's going to feel anything like the Cobra Jet that I drove, which that was
It
just
is.
a steady rise. You know.
Well, it's going to be like that, except you have a lot more torque available at the hit than the Cobra Jet. Just, you know, with your push rod engine compared to that other engine.
The overhead cam engine.
Yeah, yeah. Don't worry, Herman. I'll be right behind you. We got my roster. Carl and I spec'd out my roster today. So.
Oh man, hey man, that is the transmission to have. Travis and these guys here, that gearheads, they actually do a lot of big time racing, and they love the Rossler transmission. As soon as I told them that you wanted me to go with a Rossler transmission, AJ, they said that is a good choice to have.
It's Carl does such a good job, and I mean he's very receptive. I like getting the owner on the phone. You know what I mean? It's really and the man just has so much knowledge. I mean, he's been doing this for so long. It's like, you know, when I want really trick Chrysler transmissions, I call my friend Dave Smith at ProTrans. They were in California. They're actually in Texas now. But again, when it comes to the Chrysler transmissions, same thing. You're calling, you're getting the owner on the phone, you're getting all that experience, all that support. They're very hands-on. You know my feelings, Herman. You know, and I think Travis will agree with me too. You know, so many of these pop-up shops are just, you know, they're not necessarily as hands-on as you'd hope. And you know, the internet can really make you look like a superstar with, you know, minimal experience and pedigree to back you up. So, you know, getting hold of somebody who's actually touching the stuff, who is saying to you, hey, you know what, your car should do this, and I know it should do this because not only have I seen it, have I seen that be done, I've literally done it myself. So there's something to be said for, you know, being to get that experience. Like, that's why I like working with Travis too, you know, remotely and stuff like that. You know, he knows what buttons to touch. He knows where to go to get us the data that we need, and it really makes it easy for us to make moves.
Yeah, yeah. You know, here's a couple of his race cars here. This is the one that we call the Possum, right here. Hunter names all the cars. So this car right here is called the Possum. It has a huge turbo off in it. Right now it's down. It's not running. But when he's racing, this is one of his weapons of choice. And then Hunter's car over here, he called this car Uncle Tom. So this is Uncle Tom right here. And this is the one that Uncle Tom goes after every Mustang that has a LS engine. Hunter has a deal with people that put LS engines in Mustang, and he brings Uncle Tom out to beat him. He said he gonna race him, and he gonna beat him. He also has an air shifter off in here too, AJ. You can see where he has it set up right over there. So
yeah,
he has a mom shifter. I think in this car here, I think he's actually running a precision shifter in this car. Yeah. So there we go. Travis has a precision shifter stuck right in this particular car here. But he got some wicked cars in the game here, the Mustangs and so forth. but he loves racing and he loves all the particular style of cars. Now, this truck over here is a crazy truck. Hunter named this truck the Crackhead Killer at their old shop. Yeah, look, you got to hear this story. At the old shop, it was a guy across from the shop in a biz warehouse that was actually a crackhead. And the guy ran outside and tried to tackle this truck as Travis was driving it 35 miles an hour. He literally off his mind and tried to tackle the truck. And good thing that they had cameras up, because the cameras was able to see where he hit the front, tried to tackle it, and he went all the way back and he put a dent right back here. So the police showed up.
Hold on. And he tried to football tackle it.
He tried to football tackle the truck.
Man, hold on. I got to give him this for that. he got to get the bruh button for that one right there. You're going to football tackle a truck.
Yeah, but this guy was pretty crazy though. So, and Travis, they was always getting in it with this guy. I think a couple people had a fight with him, but the guy was like bipolar and stuff and whatnot. But he never bothered me, so I didn't bother him. There you go.
I still got to give him the bruh button for that one though.
Yeah, bruh. Yeah. Who's gonna tackle the truck? Hey, AJ, I was talking to a guy today. He was talking about the Hellcat swap. So, what's your thought on the Hellcat swap right now? Yes, what you got, Hunter? You got a question for AJ?
For the flex plate.
Hold on, he got a question for you. Go ahead.
AJ, were you talking about cutting the adapter down on the crankshaft, or just the pilot for the converter?
No, that adapter between the crankshaft and the flywheel.
Yeah, it needs to be cut down.
I'm anticipating that you're going to have to knock that down probably roughly 100 thou to get the correct converter float.
Yep. No, we just trial fitted it. It needs to come down. I'd say probably at least 100,000.
Yeah, I mean it's probably the converter's probably touching the flywheel before you even bolt it up.
Let me see if I can get a picture so they can see what you're talking about. Oh, you can't see it now. You can't tell. There it is. But it is. And Hunter left that plate off. You told him to put on there, AJ. He said that's extra weight.
He just looking like, okay. Okay.
Oh. No, he said the thread engagement on the boat. What?
Exactly perfect for that.
The ever-wise Hunter Holt.
But now with that cut down, we'll have the room.
Okay. Get out the way. Yeah. So I guess they're gonna pull it off and then they're gonna cut it down, just like you said, AJ. See, so that's why. So this is one thing I like working with AJ. So we have a complete team here. We got a team here at the shop. We can reach out to AJ, and he will actually get on the phone and answer the questions that we need answered. And it's just hard to find that these days. Most people, they don't like their jobs. When they're done with it, they're done with it. They don't want you to call them. They don't want to be bothered. And I can understand that. But New York in your city, you love doing podcasts. And here you are right now doing a podcast. You didn't get mad. Oh, I got to do another damn podcast. No.
Not at all. For those that just for those that are going to be catching a replay, man, they didn't watch this live. But for those that are watching this live, as soon as I got done the podcast, Demonology hit me up and said, hey, New York, let's do a live podcast and them put in the transmission. I said, okay, we want to do it. Right now, they're doing it now. Okay. I ain't arguing. I just said, okay, boom. I set it up real quick. Put it out.
You love what you do. And that's the thing about Hemi Tuner, AJ Burge. He loves what he's doing. He has a passion for cars.
So we're talking about Hellcat swaps, Herman.
Yes,
Hellcat swap to end
Give us about
Hellcat swaps.
What about a Hellcat swap engine into an RT? What do you think?
I mean, so this is my deal with that.
Okay.
It comes down to a Hellcat swap into anything runs really good. Where you have to draw the line, and I think where a lot of people get roped in and get clubbed over the head is
You got to roll.
How much of a real Hellcat do you want it to be is going to determine how much you spend. So, you know, to do a true 100% Hellcat swap in a 15 and up, you know, Scat Pack or RT or SXT, whatever, you know, whatever you're transplanting in that's a 15 and up. In order to get that all to work exactly like the Hellcat, you're looking at all the custom programming. You're got to program the BCMs. You sometimes have to replace the BCM depending on if it was a premium car or a not premium car. You have to program the radio. You're putting in the cooling fan. You're putting in the intercooler pump, the low temperature radiators, the oil cooler. So, you know, a lot of times you can find the main parts very easily. You know, a lot of people sell them, you know, they'll buy an engine and a trans, it's got the oil cooler on it or everything else. But what people, and you and I have spoken about this, you know, at length, I call it like the last 5%. So you have your SXT, you have your RT, you put the oil cooler in, you put everything else. What about all the screws? What about all the clips? What about the plastics? What about, you know, all the little nickel and dime stuff that if you have to buy it new at a dealer, you end up spending, you know, you need 40 rivets and the 40 rivets are $15 each because, you know, you can only get them from the dealer. So when looking to engage in a Hellcat swap, the most economical way is, if you want the full swap, is to get a donor car. And if you can't get a donor car, you just have to say, okay, what's my budget? How much can I afford to spend? And what is it that I really want out of the car? Because you can take bits and pieces of the Hellcat. So you could take the long block from the Hellcat and put it in with the supercharger. And then there's, you know, I actually make a controller that'll control the bypass valve separately where you don't need to run the Hellcat electronics. But a lot of people don't want that because they're like, oh, I'm putting in the car, like I want the screen to work, I want this to work, I want that. So you have to really decide, is it economical for me to convert my car, or is it more economical for me to just sell my car and buy a used Hellcat because that's what my budget allows? So again, don't get roped into people like, oh yeah, like, well, yeah, we got this Hellcat engine over here. I'll give you the engine for $10,000. It's another $3,000 to put it in the car, and you're going to have a Hellcat. You're not. You know, we had the little snafu with your car with the cooling fan, right? Like,
yep.
How much was that cooling fan? It was $1,000 to replace that cooling fan.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the parts are expensive, and you know, you're not going to do a full-on Hellcat swap in, you know, an RT and get away with running the RT cooling fan because the Hellcat PCM doesn't have the strategy to control that old 3-relay fan. It needs to control the pulsed fan that comes into the Hellcat. So, you know, don't get roped in. Do your research and, you know, put a reasonable budget together and stick with somebody who's done the swap so that you don't get clubbed over the head and end up with a car that doesn't run, that you're just transporting all over the country trying to get it running.
Yeah, and you guys over there, obviously Hemi Tuner can do it, and Jim at True Street Performance, you guys have actually done a lot of help.
Oh yeah, we've done a bunch of them. You know, we've done Challengers, we've done Chargers, we've done Rams, Hellcat. We've been making Hellcat. You saw Hellcat Wranglers. You know, we have.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah, we have. We've done a bunch. We've done a bunch, and we've been doing them for years. So it's good.
And also speaking of Hellcat, I know Demonology and I was there. While I was in Chicago, was a guy that had what year was that Roadster? 29 Roadster, I think it was. I think it was 29 Roadster. I wish Catfish was in here would tell you more about it. And he had a Hellcat engine in it.
Yep.
And
So
I walked up and looked at it. I was like, that's a Hellcat engine. He said, yeah.
So the Hellcrate swap. So So swapping a Hellcat engine into, you know, an older car is, I mean, the performance is just unbelievable. You know, you're taking, you know, like that Roadster, you know, that even if somebody put a small block Chevy in there, which, you know, is very, very typical, you know, circa 1970
Yeah, LX
to
swap.
2000, you know, before the LS swaps were popular.
Yeah.
You know, at best, you know, even a more radical engine was going to be a 400 or a 425 horse engine. You know, you're taking this engine, this Hellcat engine. I mean, let's face it, you put in a Roadster and it's not limited by emissions and catalytic converters and things of that nature, and you're not limited by the tuning. You know, next thing you know, you're putting 800 horsepower between the frame rails of this thing, and it idles at 680 RPM. So
Yeah, it was like 850 horsepower easy.
yeah,
When I took home.
Easy.
For those that's tuning in, matter of fact, Catfish is in here. Catfish, no, Catfish, the guy that was at Blue Top that had the roaster, I think it was a 29 roaster, the black one that had the Hemi engine in it. That thing was just sick. It was like 850 horses easy.
Can you imagine how fast that car is? That car must be 2,000 pounds.
I didn't even have no door panels on it. It was just plain door frame. And he said the AC works too. He said I have a top to put on, and I can roll up the windows, put on the AC. I was like, wow. He said I'm not all the way
Put
done with
somebody
it.
in the back in a rumble seat and
Wow, it's crazy.
And yeah, Lefty Two Guns, you right about that. Kevin Hart wasn't driving. It was somebody else that was driving that lost control of that Barracuda.
I see Lefty Two Guns in the house. What's up, brother? We see you.
He's up in here. Catfish is up in here.
Well,
Yeah,
hey, New York. Hey, man. Hey, guys, we're gonna go ahead and sign out. I know it's late in New York. It is 11 o'clock.
Well, I'm not in New York. I'm in Kansas City, so it's 10 o'clock. I'm in the same time zone you in.
There you go, brother. So we're in the same time
you
zone.
guys are just trying to make sure that the old guy over here can stay up.
Hey, that's me. Hey, that's me. I'm the old guy. I'm the old guy. Hey, but we still in the shop working. So hey, hopefully we'll have this car up and running by the weekend, and we'll have some more video and some fun things to see. I will call you later, AJ, if we need you. But I'm pretty sure that we'll finish the rest of it coming tomorrow. Hey, Hunter, how's it looking? Good.
Well, we got, you know, machine that adapter.
Okay.
That's not what it was.
We coming. Hey, Mr. Random, there's some news coming with that real soon. That's all I got to say. There's some news coming with that real soon because people want to see that race.
Dog Master, we coming.
Mr. Random, I know you probably missed it the other day.
We got to get a rematch with Dunk Master. I need you in my corner. If you can't make it, I need you on the phone. Well, I know you'll be on the phone with me if you can't make it. I need you in my corner.
Have I missed the track event yet since you went out? Since you got back?
Yeah, hey man, you've been with me every time I've been at the track. Hey, y'all, this is what he does. He comes in on the track, takes over my laptop, and he's controlling the laptop, downloading stuff, looking at stuff while I'm going down the track. He can watch it and everything. Change it up. Okay, go back and try this. There we go. And the cars run perfect every time. So we got to get ready for the big Dunk Master.
You know, if they lift these restrictions for me, I could actually get out of here and get on the plane.
Man, hey man, I would love to have you in person, AJ. Well, anyway, guys, hey,
listen, I wanted to be at that race this weekend. I wanted to be down in Texas this weekend, have the car down there and everything.
Yeah, they are racing in Texas this week. Hey, but not me. There you go. Well, I'll be at the track Sunday. I'll be at the track Sunday.
I had everything planned. I had transport set up, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but all they got shut down with the corona. Be gone.
You know, and it's not that. It's the problem is if I come out and I have to go to one in the States that's on the list here, when I come back, I have to report that I've been out, and they check on me for 14 days to make sure I'm staying home. So, yeah, it's. I hope we can get back to normal soon.
You, me, everybody out here.
Yeah,
What's
for
going
real.
on?
Hey, New York. Hey, man, I want to thank you, man, for allowing us to come onto your show
Yeah,
and
thank you
talk
so much.
about the Turbo 400 build and get some good, knowledgeable questions into Hemi Tuner himself, AJ Burge. Hey, man, God bless you guys. Y'all take care. Oh, he said, AJ, what about the 2019 Hellcat Red Eye Charger or the 2018 SRT Hellcat Red Eye? What about it, Brian Lynn James? AJ, we want to know what you think about them.
I've owned them both. They're great cars.
That's what I'm gonna be like when I grow up.
Dude, I had my poor wife. I had a 16 Hellcat, then the 19 Red Eye, and I got rid of the Red Eye and bought the Demon, and then I got rid of my Challenger that was Hellcat swapped and bought another Hellcat. Now I'm getting rid of the Hellcat, and I'm on to another project.
Oh man, your wife. Hey man, your wife need to be given saint status. Yeah, Hunter Holt is in here.
No, listen, she is a
hey,
saint.
what you got to say, Hunter?
As far as the engine that's in this Demon now, as far as there wouldn't be an issue putting nitrous on top of it or anything like that. Everything is strong enough. I'm not familiar with what parts.
No issue at all. It'll love nitrous.
He said no issue at all. He said it would love the nitrous. Hold on, he's trying to turn the fan down so he can hear.
Okay.
All right. So
just can you give us a rundown of the parts, just so I know if somebody asks.
So that engine that's a Windberg crank, Carrillo rod, and it's got a Ross piston, 2618 material. It's got a steel top ring. It's every bit of what we run for big power. So when Herman decided to go with the 400, I was able to pull some strings and he got the last of my billet crank motors. So that thing's going to take what we can throw at it for sure. So
that's what he needs.
Good deal.
Okay. AJ.
There you go. There you go with the clapping. Hey man, I'm gonna get out of here, man. I'm gonna let you two go. But hey, y'all take care. Love you guys. Glad you had me on. Real New York. Take care, AJ. We'll be calling you tomorrow. Luis is gonna come and finish doing the wiring and stuff tomorrow. So we'll probably be bugging you throughout the day.
That's fine. I'm gonna go have my nightly milk and cookies now.
Man, I need mine too. God darn it, AJ. You done got us all busted. New York, you know you want yours too. God darn it.
I wouldn't mind.
Fresh Chips Ahoy's. I'll crack open the package. A tall glass of milk. Be perfect.
There you go.
Right now.
Yeah, dude. All right, man. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.
All right. Salute.
Yeah.
Definitely thank y'all for coming through.
Thanks.
For those
for having me.
Yes, definitely. And for those that are tuned in, I know everybody's like, New York, what is going on here? Look at the surprise live. Demonology hit me up and was like, hey, I want to get it on. I wanted them to see this, see that, and see this. So who am I to say no? I'm like, yeah, I'm up for the challenge. Let's just do it. Let's do it. Does anybody have any other questions for AJ before he goes? Somebody asked me, or somebody just probably messaged me. New York, man, I just heard that AJ was on the show, man. That's what's up. You need to have him on as a guest. Hey, he's on right now, but you're right. I do. Anytime, I'd be proud to. And now that I got this information, I will. I know people are saying, "Oh, New York, not more Mopars." No, I know we're gonna talk it all. We're gonna talk about Mopars. I know we're gonna talk about it all. We don't have to talk about Mopars. We can talk about racing. We can talk about chassis, whatever you want. So. Definitely chassis, because I've been told for one of my builds I'm doing that I need to do some reinforcement to the chassis, and they came up with a few ideas, and I was like, well, it's basically boxing the whole frame, which I'm used to doing that. I had a car that I did that to, a Cutlass I did that to, so I'm like, okay, It's like, even though you're not racing, just in case, we just want to make sure you good out there. That's okay. Well, let's box the frame. Let's do this, do that. And they taught me to change in the wildwood brakes. That's why I got the big brakes. And no, let's change to this because we rather you have this and that. I'm like, the more they talking, the more money I see flying out my pocket.
That's for sure.
And,
You
and,
know,
then,
like
and then not only just that, Auto Ben said, ask a coyote question. Oh, you want to know about the coyote? Oh, yeah, poor guy. You want to know about the coyote? Oh, want to know about the coyote?
I don't know how much help I'm going to be on it, but I'll try.
Yeah, see, he's Hemi all day. You see a Hemi tuner, he's Hemi all day. Now,
I've been spoiled. I've been spoiled. I've been doing Chrysler since the early '90s. So
before Dodge, before the Ram even changed its style to make me want one.
yes.
Because I remember they changed their style. I was like, okay, and I still have my old two still floating around. I use it as a work truck, maybe twice a week. But I am very interested in because I have a good friend of mine that actually works on the Dodge team design team. He was one of the first ones to tell me about everything Dodge was coming out with. And when he sent me the flyer, I said, "Can I post this?" He said, "Post it." I was at Demonology to tell you, I was the first one to post that up before it hit the streets, before it hit anything. I posted up the Hellcat Ram. I posted up that. I posted up the Durango. And he was like, "How are you getting all this?" I said, "I know somebody that knows a lot of people that's in where he needs to be at." That's what I'm gonna tell you. And when he sent me that, he sent it to me because they were going to drop it that day. And it had me very interested in the Hellcat Ram. I'm like, it's going to be time a new pickup truck. But I kept asking him, I said, is it going to come in a 4-door or just a 2-door? He said, well, they're thinking about doing both. They're just going with what the crowd wants. They want to test the waters and see what the people out here want. I'm like, okay, well, let's test the water, see what they want. I say, make a few of them and see what happens.
I don't think that they were quite prepared for the reception that truck got. I mean,
no,
it's just we're gonna see some fast Hellcat trucks. I mean, it's gonna be pretty awesome.
And he told me that he told me, he said, I knew we was gonna get a big response. He said, but I didn't know it was gonna be that big. He said we were getting top level people. Said we even got the Prince of Dubai hit us up and said he wants 4. I said, what? Yeah. Said he wants 4. I said, 4 what? He said he wants one of each. He wants the Hellcat Ram, he wants the Durango, he wants this, he wants that. He said as soon as it come off the semi line, he wants to load it right up to come right on to him. Not by Bowie, but by fight.
The Elephant motor was the same way. I mean, there are executives of other car manufacturers that just went crazy, and they're like, you know what? Like, we have to have them. We have to have this motor. We have to have this motor. And it's like the 60s all over again for Dodge. I mean, the power that these packages are making are just unmatched. Like, I remember when I was during my tenure at Arrington, like the hot package was somebody would drop off a car for 426 with a Magnuson. Like, that was like one of our signature packages that we had. And, you left there making 700 wheel horsepower on pump gas, like you had something. And, to see now, if I get a Hellcat customer that comes in for a pulley, like if they're not 750 plus, on pump gas, they're looking at me like we're going to go outside and fight. So it's just amazing. It's amazing how far the stuff's come. It's a great platform. It's a really great platform.
Yeah, the different tunes, especially the E85. Right now, that's one of the hottest things in the street now. Everybody wants to go E85, E85, E85.
It's funny, and I didn't do a lot of E85 for a lot of years. I really kind of kept it at arm's length because I have the pump E85 is just so all over the map that it really requires a level of commitment from the client to make sure that the ethanol that they're getting is good enough to race on. And yes. I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised how many people have that type of discipline. And it's really what it did is it forced me you know, after all of these years of being a big advocate for pump gas and race gas, pump gas and race gas. I mean, I run E85 in all of my all the cars in the stable, and I spent a lot of time myself, Tim Barth, collectively, getting flex fuel working. It was really out of the box for us, because a lot of, up until a couple of years ago, the whole flex fuel thing and using ethanol wasn't really mainstream. But if you have a Hellcat, I mean, and you want to run fast, you cannot do it on pump gas. I mean, more people burn up their Hellcat engines on pump gas than will ever admit it. And, the engine wants timing. The engine wants to run. And you just can't get there without the octane. And, the ethanol gives you that octane at an economical price. It's easy to get. And, someone can afford to burn through, 2 or 3 tanks of ethanol in a weekend, where you'd never get away with that, if you're running MS-109 or Q16 or C16, not to mention the maintenance, what the leaded fuel does to oxygen sensors, spark plugs, everything else. So it kind of really, like, for me, it forced me to change my views and work on getting what people wanted. And the ethanol, I'm proud to say, like, it's the way to go.
Well, that's what I'm hearing, and now I see it even here in KC. It's at every gas station. Every gas station has ethanol, and it's even one out of maybe, no, I would say about 2 out of maybe the 5 QTs around here, and there's a bunch of them. They have separate ethanol pumps. Like, you don't have to pull up to a regular pump. It's a whole separate pump over to the side. And it's so crazy because it's right by where one of the places we go to Mexico. You'll see the guys lined up there filling up right there. And I was like, okay, all right. Like, what are they doing over there?
It's been tough lately, though, especially in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Where I had a handful of stations that I go to that I could, at the time, I could count on, having 80% or better, even in the winter. And now with, everything that happened with the pandemic and everything else, and I'm seeing ethanol contents down in 55, 58%, maybe 60%, and, out of 20 stations that I used to be able to frequent and get good ethanol, we're down to like 2 or 3. So, yeah. And typically what you see is when the gasoline price goes up, the ethanol gets better. And when the gasoline price goes down, the ethanol, gets worse. So just have to be, have the discipline to really check your fuel, check your contents, try to stick with the same station, can it. And, I tell everybody that really wants to be serious about the ethanol, especially, guys going to Mexico all the time, at least invest in some Ignite, invest in some good canned ethanol. So if you end up stuck with these stations that you don't have the content that you desire, you can at least blend some fuel, there and check it and get your content up so you don't do any damage.
Yeah, I know a friend of mine does that. He always keeps. I was like, "What are you keeping this can for?" He said, "Oh man, just in case." He said, "I haven't had to use it yet," and I don't know where he got them from, but they're already sealed cans that you already buy. He keeps 4 in the trunk at all times.
We keep 55-gallon drums on hand, and usually 40 to 55-gallon pails at a time is what we keep on hand, to supply the clients when they need it. And then, I always tell our clients, that use us for calibration and builds, it's kind of an open door policy with the ethanol. If you're in doubt, like, put a few gallons in a container, bring it by. I'll test it. I'll go through it with you. We'll look at it. We'll make sure it's clear. We'll make sure it's right. We'll make sure you have what you need so that you don't cook the thing. So it's
Yes, let everybody know E85 at one gas station, not the same E85 at another gas station.
No,
A lot of people
it's really,
saying
it's
that.
really
No, no, the mixture's always different. I learned that years ago. With
even,
flex
and it's the
fuel.
same is true for pump gas. You know,
Mhm.
we had a client put a motor in the truck, tuned it, everything was great. He drove it for about 9 months, brought it in, down the cylinder, pulled the plugs, checked the plugs, wasted, spark plugs were wasted. You know, he's like, how does this happen? And I said, listen, I mean, it looks like it detonated itself to death. I said, you know, what type of fuel you running? He's like, I run 93. I go to the same fuel station, everything else. He's like, I'm going to take a fuel sample. I'm like, okay, take a fuel sample. Like, send it to the lab. Like, you know, let me know. 3 months later, I get a text message on my phone. He did not have 93. They tested the fuel and it was 87. And it cost this poor guy a motor. You know, so I'm a big advocate of fuel from a can, fuel that you can count on, whether it's, you know, no matter what octane you're trying to achieve. Like, there's something to be said from fuel from a can. Another thing that I really like about the ethanol is that, you know, the technology exists where most people can test the ethanol on the fly. There's plenty of testers out there. It's very simple. You have the beaker, a little bit of water, a little bit of fuel, shake it up. You can see your content, and, you know, it's something that you can count on. It's very hard to, you can't really test for octane of gasoline, you know, right there at the pump. Like the chemistry, the chemistry is not widely available for people, you know, to do in the garage. So just another good reason to run ethanol. And as far as 93 to E85 on a car that has flex fuel, whether it be an ethanol sensor or like a Dodge where it's inferred ethanol content based on a couple of different factors, you can go from 93 to E85. The problem is if you're pulleyed up for E85, you, no matter how numb you try to make it for your 93 tune-up, you could end up burning it up. I tell anybody that's in a flex fuel situation that if you're running in 93 mode, no wide open throttle operation at all. Like if you have your hot pulley on, you know, if you say you have a Hellcat and it's kind of upper and lower and it's making 20 pounds, you're never, ever, ever, ever going to get away with running that on 93 with a stock engine. It's just not going to happen. You know, you might get that with a 426 because if you use a 426 with the upper and lower, it's going to have a lot less boost than it would have on a smaller engine. But almost every person that has come my way with a stock Hellcat engine that has an upper and a lower and 93 at some point either knocks the rods out of it or breaks a ringland. I mean, I've seen 100% failure rate on guys that, you know, that race, you know, the guys that go out there and make hits on pump gas with those levels of boost. I've seen 100% failure rate, and it's strictly the octane. You got to have the octane.
Yeah, so Beck, I'll be pissed too. I know that dude was like, wow, I'm thinking I'm getting this higher grade I'm paying for it. And I know my uncle back in the day because he's big advocate, Chevy guy, race. He would always, even no matter if it was his daily drive, he would always get octane boosting put in because he was always saying to me, it may say 93 on there, but you may be getting 88. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it was true because of something he did with somebody and they had it tested and came to find out it was supposed to be the same thing like a 93 octane. It was 88. The 100 octane he was getting was really 90 something. So they was putting an octane boost in there to get that extra boost of octane until you had some of the companies started coming out with the gas in the can that was the True Blue. I remember, I never forget, it was called True Blue something. There was 125 or 130 octane. It was it was both. They had one at 125, other 130. And they were using that in all their cars, which is basically the same blue can used right now that everybody uses for racing.
It's funny, you know, the other thing is stated octane. You know what I mean? what it says on the pump. So I have a lot of guys in Canada that say, you know, I get the phone. What fuel are you running? I'm running 94 octane. Okay, well, Canadian ethanol free 94 octane is really the same as our 91. So, you know, again, you know, unless you can check the chemistry, it's sometimes a crapshoot of whether or not, you know, you're actually getting what you think you're paying for. And, you know, the old term blind faith will get you killed. In the Hellcat case, blind faith will cost you your motor.
Yeah, I remember they shut down a gas station when I lived in Atlanta like that because that gas station was selling 87 across the board, and even their diesel was crap. It was a huge gas. I forgot the name of it. It was a huge gas station. Everybody was going to it because it was connected. It was basically a truck stop, and they shut it down. I happened to be there while they shut it down. I'm like, why they shut everything down? Man, whoever the gas people was, they came in there and said, nobody can get no more gas. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. They had to shut down all their major pumps, put up all these signs, and you couldn't get anything. You couldn't even get diesel. You couldn't even get kerosene because they had a kerosene pump too. They shut that down too. It was like, wow, you can't get nothing. And they were just saying they false selling for gas. Everything's been tested and it's all 87 across the board. Even the diesel is not that good.
Yep. So let's talk about this, Mr. Random here, ethanol free. So about the only thing I use ethanol free in is the lawnmower. The actual ethanol content in our cars. So our cars nowadays, especially Hellcat as well, they're tuned for that 10% ethanol and up to 15% because it's become standard. And, you know, having the ethanol actually helps us a little bit. You know, the ethanol free gas, you know, if you have like an older lawnmower, that what happens is, you know, obviously as you add ethanol content, if the engine's calibrated for gasoline, the more ethanol you put in, the leaner the engine runs. So, you know, if you have an engine that's set up for, you know, times before there was ethanol in the fuel, you know, running a non-ethanol fuel will make it run as rich as it needs to be, where if you put ethanol blended fuel in, the engine may run a little bit lean or hot, you know, especially if it's an air-cooled engine or power equipment or a motorcycle or, you know, a two-stroke dirt bike, you know, things like that. So don't be fooled by the ethanol free, that just because it has no ethanol that it's better. It's better in some applications, but for the most part, car that's calibrated for up to 15% alcohol content will run the best at those contents.
Okay, Mr. Ram, you got the answer to that. I just know I haven't used it at all because I'm like, because everything I have mostly is 87, except for my Harley. I definitely run 93, and I only go to certain gas stations that I know that are, because they have the test thing on there. They literally have it right there showing this is a test of what it is. This is what it is. And I still use Octane Booster, and in between time, I still use Seafoam to clean out everything in it, and it works good on my Harley.
I love Seafoam. Seafoam,
best thing ever.
It really is good stuff. And you know what else is really good? Stabil, the Stabil fuel stabilizer.
Oh yeah.
So you know, back in the day, you know, and again, we're talking about power equipment, generators, boats, you know, things of that nature. Back in the day, it was, oh no, you got to drain the fuel, you got to make sure the carburetor's dry, you know, all that stuff. Otherwise, I've always found that when you know, if you had a generator or a lawnmower or go-kart, you drain all the fuel out. You drain all the fuel out of the tank. You drain all the fuel out of the carburetor. You know, as the weather changes, as the ambient temperatures change, you end up, now you have a vessel to create condensation, and the condensation gets in the fuel tank. The condensation gets in the float bowl of the carburetor.
Right.
And then you put fresh gas in, and you know, it's like, oh, the thing doesn't run, or you got to run it with 3/4 choke on it or something like that. So about 10 years ago, I started using that Stabil, that red fuel stabilizer.
Yep. And the red. Yep. And the clear, and it was red.
Yep. You squeeze the piece. It gives you a measurement. You know, you treat it to how many gallons of fuel you're running.
Yep.
And
for red.
to give you a story, like I had a Harbor Freight generator in the trailer, and I had the trailer at my chassis builders for 2 years. 2 years. I went, picked it up. I opened up the generator door. I pulled the generator out. I put the choke on. I pulled it one time, and it fired up in 2 years on one pull.
Wow.
And it ran. And preventatively, once I started running it and using it again, I put a can of Seafoam in it, let it run through. That generator still runs like the day I bought it. And all the stuff, the generators at the house, lawnmowers, snow blowers, you know, everything. There's some good stuff out there, you know, to help prevent things from coking up and shellacking up, you know, if you put them in storage long term. And Stable actually makes a stabilizer, believe it or not, for ethanol. It's blue instead of the red stuff. It's in a
you know,
blue.
I've seen that, and I was like, why is it blue? But I didn't look at the packaging.
Yeah, it's actually made for ethanol. And I tested some last winter, but I didn't have the chops to just put it in a car and put it on the dyno and flog it with the stabilizer in it. But in the quad, it seems to work pretty good, you know, with the ethanol. So
that's what's up. I walked right past because I looked at it. I said, why didn't you know what it was? And I should have known, because over there where all the E85 cleaner stuff is sitting at, it's sitting right there.
Right there.
But I saw it and walked past it and looked, and I just kept walking because I was trying to go get a can of Seafoam. It was last year. I was trying to get a can of Seafoam to put in a friend of mine's bike because I was telling him, I was like, look, I know how to clear your system out. Pour this in first before you send it up to Harley. He poured it in. We let it run. We let it run. We let it run. We let it run. All of a sudden, it just went from boom, and it just ran straight.
Yeah, all of a sudden,
we hit the interstate with
somebody
it.
flipped the
Came
switch.
back. Yeah, it came back, and then it was like, wow. It was. He was all in awe. And I told you, man, nothing better than Seafoam. I'm sorry.
It really, you know.
No, don't be scared of it. Please don't be scared of it.
I come from the old school where I was taught like there's no such thing as magic in a can. Seafoam is magic in a can.
I use it in between oil changes, but trust me, it works. I watched all this gunk when I went to do my valve cover gaskets. I said, "Wow, everything is clean," because I had Seafoam right beforehand. Yeah, and I was like, "Wow." I mean, it was clean, like factory clean. Because I saw it come out with the oil. I put it in, and I put about 500 miles on it. Then I went ahead and dropped all my synthetic oil, my synthetic oil. And at the end of the oil, I could see stuff just running. I was like, what is this coming out of here? Yeah. I mean, it wasn't sludge, but it was just deposits of crap coming out like snowflakes. And it was just floating in it. All that came off valves and everything else from me just driving it with Seafoam in it. So I'm a true believer of Seafoam, period.
It really does work good. But
yeah, so please don't be scared of it. Please don't be scared of it. Silverback asks, how long you worked for Dodge?
So I worked for Dodge for 18 years.
That's a good minute. Yeah, that's a good minute. So now, folks, now you know why he's Hemi all day. Many years. Woo. That's right. Yes, don't be scared of Seafoam. Because it came and said, New York, you still on? Yeah, don't be scared of Seafoam. New York turned me on to that, and they helped my lawnmower out. Yeah, he's about to throw away his lawnmower.
I'm telling you,
he got an expensive 0-turn lawnmower. He took to the shop. They told him the engine was bad, so it can't be bad. It cranked up, it was just running off crazy. So man, take the whole thing of Seafoam and pour it in oil. Pour some in the oil, pour some in the gas tank. And he just let it sit there and run, and it just leveled out on his own. It was like 90 days, leveled out. So I dropped the oil that he told me to do after I did my cut. He said, put new oil in it and let it run all the way out. And I, put more gas in it. And he said, I haven't had any problems since. He said, I did change the plugs. He said, but the plug was already filed out already. I said, well, it was already filed out. It is what it is.
It cleans it right up, though. But it's late when we're talking about lawnmowers. So I'm going to get my butt to bed.
Yes, y'all. We're going to end this. Shout out to AJ for coming through. Shout out for Demonology for, giving me
thanks for having me. It's really been a pleasure.
Oh, anytime. And you come back anytime. Y'all, I will bring them back on a regular time. Because everybody's like, they just like, wow, this is surprise live. Yes, surprise live. Demonology hit me up and was like, I want people to see me. My transmission going in, put AJ on, blah, 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 blah. And there it was. There it is. We've been an hour 5 strong. So that means I've been going on and on for like 2 hours and 50 minutes between both podcasts. So salute to AJ. Appreciate you coming on. Salute to everybody that's up in here. I will see y'all tomorrow, the same time, the regular time at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. So then, y'all be easy. Not a problem. Salute.
New York in your city, New York in your city.